Hey guys, my name is Sid, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a Rails React app in around 10 minutes. So let's dive into, first of all, a little bit of the structure in this draw.io. So you can see here that we have a user, and the user is making a request to localhost 3000, which is going to be your local computer, port 3000. They're going to make a request to your Rails app server, right? And they're going to make a GET request for /home. Your Rails app is going to return some view, right? So let's call this view home.html.arb. And we can actually just remove these for now. And this is nothing new, right? You have a Rails app, you have a route for home, you serve some resource depending on the route that the user requests. What you can do is on the requested resource, if it's an HTML page, you can put a script tag in that page, and that script tag can load a React pack, right? And that pack can just have like an index.js file. That index.js file starts your React app, and then now you have an SPA where your client requests one HTML page, and now they're loading an entire React app, basically. This is pretty useful. If you choose to load your React app like this, rather than have a separate web and API server for your React app and API, it's good because you won't run into any CORS issues, right? So, for example, if you use Create React App and you have an HTTP server on port 3000 and your Rails server for your API on 3001, you're going to run into some issues where you're making a request from port 3000 to your API on port 3001. You're going to have to use probably a gem like rack_cors or something to get around that, to say, okay, I want to allow these specific origins to make requests to my API. Choosing to structure your project like this means that you can limit yourself to one API while also having a React and Rails app together and no real CORS issues. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So nothing too complicated, we can dive right into it. One more thing, just so you know, a majority of the information that I'm going to be sharing is just detailed in this repo, Rails Webpacker. So if you'd like to have some sort of guide to follow that's not really this video, you can just go here and read this installation guide. It covers a lot of this. But yeah, let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to create our Rails project, and we can do this by doing Rails new. Let's call this React Rails, and then we can do --webpack. And this will also install Webpack with the project. Cool. Now we can run a bundle just to do a bundle install. Oops, we got to go into our app. Cool. Let's do a bundle. Now we can go to our application.js, and we're going to add some imports. Let's add these guys. We're going to need a core.js and regenerator runtime. All right. So now let's go about returning an HTML ERB page when we request the home route. So let's go into our routes, and let's just say get for home is going to map to application. I'm just doing this for demonstration. You probably don't want your application controller to serve your React app. So this will just be like whatever standard Rails route you use. This is just for demonstration. And let's make a home method. All right, so now let's create our view, right? So I'm going to go here, I'm going to go to the views folder, and I'm going to create an application subdirectory, and I'm going to call this home.html.arb. So this is going to create our HTML ERB view for home. And then let's just render something here. So let's say div in home ERB view, right? Just like that. Make a request to home. Let's start our Rails server. And we make a request to home, and we are in the home view. All right, so now the next step is to be able to load some JavaScript in here, right? So first, let's take a look at how application HTML ERB is rendering a JavaScript pack tag, right? So we see JavaScript pack tag, and it says application, right? And what's happening is within the app JavaScript folder, we have a packs thing, right? So within this folder for packs, we can title a pack whatever we want, and then do JavaScript pack tag, whatever name that pack is, and then it will look within the JavaScript folder to render that pack, right? So for example, we could make home like the directory for a pack. We could make an index.js file in there, and then we could go here to our home HTML ERB, copy this guy, and then replace application with home. So now let's add something to our home. So let's just say in home index.js. Let's load it, see what happens. Pack tag. Oh, whoops, sorry, I forgot to set. So now we have our home pack, right? Now we can create the actual pack script, right? So home.js. We can go here, import home. And now when we go here, we're going to load our home.js pack file, which is going to load this directory, and it's going to run this file by default, because when you have a directory with JavaScript and you import it, by default your index file is going to run. And now we see we're in home index.js. All right, so now we're going to have to do a little bit more configuration, right? So I guess a good first step is let's add some React, right? So let's go here and do yarn add react-dom. Now let's go back to our home. And now we can use React, right? So let's do import React from React. And import render from React-dom. And we can do render. Let's do div, this is React. Div, and then let's say document.getElement by ID root. So this is some pretty standard React stuff, right? All we're doing is we're saying, hey, get the root element of whatever document I'm being like imported on, and then just attach the React app there. Let's see. So now let's go to our home HTML ERB, and let's just make a div that says ID is equal to root. And let's see what happens. So we're going to get an error, right? So what we can do is we can add this Babel preset React to our Babel config, and that will allow us to render index.jsx as our as our home view, basically. So now let's go here. We can go to Babel config, and then we can go to our presets and paste this. Cool. Oh, and we also have to add. Oh, so we have to do another thing. We also have to yarn add at Babel preset React. We also have to go into our Webpack config and add an extension here. So instead of just JS, we're going to allow JSX files to be the default loaded files for our packs. Okay. There we go. All right, cool. I just had a missing intake here. So now we're loading our React app in Rails, just like this. So as you can see, in our home HTML ERB, we have root div, so we can delete this guy now. We're importing React and React-dom. We're rendering this div right here. This is React, and we're appending it to document.getElement by ID root, right there. And there you go. So now we're making a request to our Rails app. We're having our Rails app return home.html.erb. Home.html.erb is requiring a JavaScript pack, which is home. This guy is importing home from the JavaScript directory. And then when you import home, index.jsx is run. And now we can just change this to index.jsx. And there you have it. So yeah, that's the end of the video. I hope this has showed you how simple it is to set up Rails and React together. It's really lightweight, can be very modular depending on how you design it, and can set you up really well for code splitting in the future.